Have you ever felt like the entire world is pulling you in 100 directions, draining your energy, stealing your joy, clouding your mind? Imagine this: in the middle of the chaos, you find an anchor, a calm that no storm can shake. That, my friend, is the transformative power of protecting your peace. You know, life can feel like a battleground. Everywhere you look, demands are locking horns, pulling at your attention, taxing your emotions, draining your energy. And if you're not intentional, you'll start pouring every ounce of your heart into everyone else until there's nothing left for you. Then what happens? You lose your sense of self. You burn out, striving to prove your worth. Exhausted and overwhelmed, you might ask yourself, is this really why I'm here? But here's a truth bomb. You need to hear: your peace is not a luxury. It's your power. And it's not something you stumble upon when life finally settles down. It's a choice, a practice, a commitment you carry right in the eye of the storm. Pause and picture this. You're navigating chaos, yet inside, you're grounded like the calm center of a hurricane. That's not a fairy tale, it's your birthright. When you settle into that truth, everything changes. You stop chasing every crisis. You stop saying yes to every request, every distraction, every drama. You simply stop answering. You stop reacting. Instead, you begin to choose your battles with precision. Not because you don't care, but because you do care enough about your soul to set boundaries. Think of it: how many battles have you fought that didn't even matter? How many tears, how much time, and for what? That heated argument, was it truly worth your energy? That betrayal, was it meant to break you or build you? That delay, was it a punishment or was it protection? Sometimes what feels like a setback is actually a setup for something greater. Here's the beautiful paradox. Peace doesn't mean there's no trouble. It means trouble doesn't have permission to wreck your spirit. You can walk through fires, but you don't have to invite the smoke into your home. You're allowed to pass through storms without being swept away. Now imagine the strength that springs from that. When you guard your peace, something magical happens. Your strength multiplies. Tiredness fades. Confusion clears. Suddenly, clarity lights your path. You begin to see what matters and what doesn't. You begin to feel powerful. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Listen closely. The enemy wants noise. He feeds on your confusion, your chaos, your overwhelm. Why? Because as long as you're reacting, you'll never hear the gentle whisper of guidance, hope, or purpose. You'll miss the quiet voice that speaks only in stillness. Be still and know. So here's my challenge to you today. Yes, right now, choose your peace. Quiet the noise. Set the boundaries. Say no when you must, even if it's hard. Refuse to carry conflict home. Refuse to pour your energy into distractions that have no eternal impact. Instead, wake up each morning and choose peace. Because once you do, you unlock clarity, courage, and a peace that becomes unstoppable. You weren't created to be a prisoner of perpetual noise. You were born to be an anchor in the storm, rooted, centered, unshakable. So stand firm, guard your peace, and watch how it transforms your life. If the enemy can cloud your clarity, he can hijack your direction. And once your direction is gone, so is your destiny. That's how it works: slowly, subtly, silently. But there comes a moment when you have to rise up and say, enough. You draw a bold line in the sand. You stop selling yourself short. You stop treating your peace like it's negotiable. Because it's not. The moment you decide that your peace is sacred, that it's not up for debate or discussion, everything begins to shift. You stop bending your life to earn applause. You stop reshaping your values just to make people comfortable. Here's the truth. The world doesn't need to understand your boundaries. Your friends don't need to approve your healing. Your coworkers don't get to vote on your priorities. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Your only job is alignment. Alignment with the calling God placed inside you. Alignment with the voice that whispers when the noise is loud. You weren't born to be liked. You were born to be faithful. You were created to walk in peace, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Because peace. Real peace isn't weak. It's not passive. It's the boldest kind of strength. It's the kind of strength that says, God, I don't have all the answers, but I trust you enough not to spiral. I trust you enough to breathe deeply in the middle of the mess, to sit still when everything tells me to rush. That kind of peace, it's powerful. It anchors you. Suddenly, you're no longer tossed around by someone else's opinion. You're not ruled by the latest crisis or controlled by unpredictable moods. You stop being reactive and start becoming rooted. And trust me, people notice. Even if they can't explain it, they'll feel it. They'll watch you and wonder, what is it about them? Why are they so steady when everyone else is scattered? Why are they calm when the room is in chaos? That, my friend, is the peace of God resting on your life. It's not performative. It's not for show. It's the quiet fruit of choosing to dwell daily intentionally in the presence of the one who commands the winds and the waves. The one who says, "Peace, be still," and every storm listens. So the next time life tries to shake you, take a breath. Remind yourself, my peace is not up for negotiation. It doesn't shift with my schedule. It doesn't depend on people liking me. It's anchored in something unshakable, my Creator. And, because of that, I will not be moved. You see, we often think the real work is out there, chasing goals, building brands, proving our value. But the deepest, most powerful transformation, it doesn't happen on the outside. It starts in the quiet, unseen places inside your heart, in your soul, in the hidden rooms where only God sees. That's where the real foundation is poured. Because self-work is spiritual work. There are people who spend their entire lives trying to rearrange their surroundings, changing jobs, shifting relationships, hopping from place to place, hoping that something out there will finally bring them peace. But they never stop long enough to look inward. They never pause to ask, what if the chaos isn't just around me? What if it's within me? And until that inner work begins, nothing truly changes. They stay stuck in the same cycles, always hustling, always chasing, always tired. But here's the secret: when you invite God to work within, He begins to move around you in ways you never imagined. You don't always need a new opportunity or a different environment to feel renewed. What you need is a new mindset, a healed heart, a spirit that's steady, surrendered, and secure in the truth. You get to that place when you stop striving and start praying, God, work on me. Search me. Heal me. Change me from the inside out. So once you start praying, God, work on me. Search me. Heal me. Everything starts to shift. But here's the thing, that shift doesn't always come wrapped in comfort. Sometimes growth begins with surrender. Break me down if you have to, but don't let me stay the same. That's the kind of prayer that changes lives, not because it sounds poetic, but because it's honest, real, raw. Because really, what's the point of changing your environment if your soul stays wounded? What's the point of gaining everything on the outside if you're still empty inside? I've seen it time and time again. People chasing money only to feel more hollow than before. People chasing love only to end up lonelier than ever. People achieving their dreams, building their empires, checking every box, and still crying themselves to sleep. Because here's the hard truth. You cannot replace spiritual hunger with physical things. You can't cover a bleeding soul with applause. You can't fill a God-shaped void with human validation. That's why the real work has to go deep. It's not about surface-level fixes. You've got to be brave enough to face the truth, your truth. You've got to let God dig into the corners of your heart. Peel back the layers of pride, of fear, of insecurity, of pain, until all that remains is the person He designed you to be from the very beginning. And let me be real with you, it's not easy. Not at all. This kind of heart work is some of the hardest work you'll ever do. It's vulnerable. It's stretching. It's uncomfortable. It asks you to take off the mask. It asks you to admit, I've been carrying bitterness, or I've been pointing fingers, or I've been asking God to change everything around me, when really, He's trying to change something inside me. But once you reach that place, once you stop asking God to just work for you and start letting Him work in you, everything begins to change. Suddenly, your vision becomes clear. You stop spiraling in chaos and start standing in calm. You stop reacting to life and start responding to it. You stop chasing validation and start living from identity. You stop striving for peace and begin resting in it. And that's when the realization hits you like a wave of clarity. You don't have to chase what's already yours. You don't have to run after purpose because it's already written into your design. You don't have to push and force and manipulate because when you're aligned with God, things begin to flow. That's the reward of doing the inner work. That's the fruit of real spiritual surrender. You stop striving and start becoming. And when you become who you were meant to be, you naturally attract what was meant for you. Not because you're trying harder, but because you're living in truth. You stop chasing blessings, and instead, you become the kind of person God can trust to carry them. And let me tell you, when you do that, things begin to line up. The right people show up. The wrong doors close without drama, without warning. The fog starts to lift. Confusion fades, and what replaces it? Clarity, confidence, direction, because you're no longer operating out of desperation. You're walking in divine alignment. And that right there is the difference between chaos and calling. It's never been about fixing everything overnight. Real transformation doesn't happen in one grand leap. It happens in small, quiet steps. One choice at a time. One surrender at a time. One whispered prayer that says, God, I may not be perfect, but I'm willing. I'm not there yet, but I'm on the way. Just don't let me go back to who I used to be. Keep shaping me. Keep refining me. Keep preparing me for the future you've already written with my name on it. Because let's face it, we live in a world that's loud. A world that never stops shouting. Every scroll, every swipe, every screen is packed with voices telling you who to be, what to chase, what to fix, what to fear. It's constant. And if you're not intentional, you'll start living your life according to opinions that were never meant to guide you. You'll chase goals that don't belong to you. You'll wear identities that God never placed on you. You'll start performing checking boxes, meeting expectations, while slowly drifting away from who you really are. You'll react to everything but become nothing. But here's what I came to remind you. You don't have to live that way. You can choose to turn down the volume of the world and turn up the voice within. There's a voice inside of you that's unlike all the others. It doesn't fight for attention. It doesn't compete for likes or scream to be heard. It whispers. It grounds. It carries quiet wisdom and unshakable truth. That voice, that's the one God placed in you before the world ever formed an opinion. It's the one that rises up to remind you who you are when the noise tries to make you forget. It's the one that whispers, stand firm, when everything around you says give up. But here's the thing, that voice doesn't force its way in. It can't compete with constant noise. It needs space, and the only way to hear it clearly is to make space for silence. We've become so used to being stimulated, so used to multitasking, scrolling, replying, reacting, that when we finally slow down, silence feels awkward. Stillness feels unnatural. But here's the truth. The most important decisions you'll ever make will never come from pressure or panic. They will come from peace. And peace. Peace doesn't shout. Peace doesn't rush. Peace whispers. It leads you softly, gently, like a hand on your shoulder, reminding you that you're safe to stop running. But you'll never hear it if you don't quiet the chaos. You've got to start silencing the voices that drown out the one voice that matters most, God's voice. Because there is something deeply powerful about learning to be still, not passive, not disengaged, but present, centered, attentive to what's stirring beneath the surface. Stillness invites you to notice what you've been avoiding, the fears you've buried, the wounds you've ignored, the habits that are quietly holding you back. The world will keep pushing you to stay busy, stay loud, stay distracted. But God's invitation is far more profound. He says, "Be still, and know that I am God." And let's be honest, how can you truly know who He is if you're too busy trying to be everything for everyone else? Let me tell you something real, something you need to hear. Loud and clear, people will always try to define you. They'll put you in boxes, built from your past, your failures, your flaws, and their own limited expectations. They'll label you based on what they think they know, not who you actually are. But here's the truth. There is a voice inside you that speaks louder than all of that noise. It's not the voice of the crowd. It's not the voice of your critics. It's the voice of God. And that voice says, you are chosen. That voice says, you are forgiven. That voice says, there is more inside you than what they see. But here's the problem. You'll never hear that voice if you're constantly tuned in to everyone else's opinions. If all your energy is spent adjusting, pleasing, performing, or doubting, there's no space left for truth. You've got to turn down the volume of the world so you can turn up the truth within. There's a reason the enemy thrives in noise. Because noise brings confusion. And when you're confused, you're vulnerable. When you're distracted, you're weakened. The enemy doesn't have to destroy you, he just needs to keep your mind too cluttered to hear from heaven. But something shifts when you choose to pull back. When you say, enough. When you stop scrolling, stop comparing, stop chasing approval, and just get quiet with God. That's when your spirit begins to rise. That's when clarity breaks through, strength enters, and suddenly purpose that was buried under noise begins to come alive again. You stop second-guessing every step. You stop apologizing for growing. You stop settling for less than what God already declared over your life. Because some of you, you've been living based on feedback from people who don't even know your calling. You've been searching for direction from voices that haven't even discovered their own. And every time you try to step out in faith, their doubts echo in your head, making you question what God already confirmed in your soul. But hear me clearly. Their opinion is not your compass. Their approval is not your identity. You've already been called. You've already been equipped. And the only voice that truly matters has already spoken. So if you've been feeling lost, overwhelmed, unsure of your next step, it may not mean you're broken. It might just mean you've been listening to the wrong voices. It's time to unplug, to go within, to open your heart to the one who created you, because the guidance you're looking for, it's not out there, it's already inside you. You just need to make space to hear it. And when you finally stop waiting for the world's permission, when you stop begging for validation before making moves God already confirmed, when you stop turning around to see if everyone claps for the step you know you're called to take, that's when something powerful begins to happen. You stop shrinking just to fit in. You stop dimming your light to keep others comfortable. And instead, you rise. You walk forward not in fear, but in quiet, steady confidence. Because you know who you are. You know who sent you. And you know that faith doesn't need approval. Purpose doesn't wait for applause. So once you stop waiting for applause, stop shrinking for acceptance, and start walking in quiet confidence, there's something else you need to remember. Your destiny was never meant to be a group decision. Destiny doesn't ask for consensus. It doesn't wait for permission. Yet we spend so much of our energy trying to explain ourselves, to justify our calling to people who were never meant to understand it in the first place. We break ourselves down trying to make sense to others, forgetting that they never heard what God whispered to us in the quiet. Because when God speaks to your heart, it's personal, it's sacred, it's yours, and not everyone will get it. And that's okay. You don't need everyone to understand. You don't need the world to nod in agreement. What you need is the courage to walk it out anyway. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is this: stop explaining yourself. Stop pleading your case to people who already decided not to believe in you. Stop waiting for someone else to say, "Now you're ready." Because if you spend your life waiting for someone else to release you, you might wait forever. But when you know who sent you, when you're clear on who called you, then, even if you have to walk alone, you walk in authority. Even if no one claps, you keep showing up. Even if they mock, misunderstand, or doubt you, you stay the course. Because your strength doesn't come from their support. Your fuel isn't their praise. You're walking by faith, not by popularity. I've seen it too many times: gifts buried in fear. People full of purpose stuck in neutral, waiting for the perfect moment, a perfect sign, a perfect reaction, a perfect cheer from the sidelines. But here's the truth: some people won't get it until it's already done. Some won't understand what God was doing in you until they see the finished product. And that's why you can't waste your energy trying to be understood by those who were never meant to see what you see. You just keep moving, keep trusting, keep obeying. That calling on your life, it's not up for public vote. That message on your heart, that mission in your spirit, it didn't come from a crowd. It didn't come from a focus group or a committee. It came from the throne room. And if it came from the throne room, then you don't need a second opinion. You move when heaven sends you. You go even when your knees are shaking. You speak even when your voice trembles. You stand even when you stand alone. And let me tell you something important. Confidence doesn't always look like a roar. Sometimes the strongest confidence isn't shouted, it's quietly decided. It's the steady choice to keep going, to keep building, to keep praying, to keep trusting, even when nothing seems to move forward. That quiet confidence isn't arrogance. It's not pride. It's the beautiful fruit of obedience, rooted in the calm peace of knowing I may not be perfect, but I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And when you settle into that place, even the delays begin to serve your purpose. Even detours are revealed as divine direction. Even shut doors. They become acts of protection you might not have understood in the moment. You've got to be so anchored in your identity in God that no one else's opinion can pull up your roots. You need to reach the place where you confidently declare, "I don't need your permission to be who God called me to be." Not out of rebellion, but out of righteousness. Not out of pride, but out of power. Because the moment you stop seeking agreement from everyone else is the moment you step into true alignment. As you mature, your explanations become quieter, not louder. Growth teaches you this: not every move needs defending. Not every step needs justification. Sometimes the results do the talking. Sometimes your peace becomes your proof. Sometimes your persistence becomes your response. So if no one gets it, if they don't cheer, if they walk away, that's okay. You simply keep doing what God called you to do. Stay faithful, stay focused, and stay grounded. Because once you stop waiting for permission, you create space for the miraculous. You open a doorway for God to move. You stop holding back and start stepping into what you were born to do. Then, one by one, things begin to line up. Ideas that seemed hidden surface. Opportunities that seemed locked begin to open. Paths you never saw become clear. A deep, sacred peace starts to settle in your soul, one that grows when you release control. When you unclench your fists from things you were never meant to fix. When you stop exhausting yourself trying to change circumstances only God can change. There's freedom in that kind of surrender, not weakness, not giving up, but the profound strength to say, God, I trust you more than I trust my own understanding. See, one of the biggest traps we fall into is believing we're responsible for the outcome. We pray, we plan, we prepare, and yes, those things matter. But at some point, you must recognize you're not the author of the story. You're the vessel. You're the one walking it out day by day, step by step, not engraving it in stone. If you try to carry both the mission and the outcome, you'll buckle under the pressure. But when you let go of the outcome, when you whisper, God, I'll do what you ask and I'll leave the rest to you, something powerful begins to shift. You find rest in the middle of your responsibilities. You understand there are storms you can't stop, people you can't change, doors you can't force open. And if you spend your life wrestling with anything outside your control, you'll miss the untold beauty God is orchestrating within you. You've been losing sleep not because you're lazy, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you've been holding on to something too heavy for human hands. You've been trying to manage every detail, fix every outcome, hold everything together. But here's the truth. God never asked you to do all of that. He didn't ask for your perfection. He asked for your trust. There's a story unfolding in your life right now, one you can't fully see. And, just like any powerful story, not every chapter will make sense while you're still in it. Some seasons will feel dry, confusing, and honestly painful. But just because it doesn't look like progress doesn't mean God isn't moving. Just because things feel quiet doesn't mean heaven is silent. God doesn't need your panic to perform miracles. He needs your surrender. He needs your faith. And sometimes the loudest kind of faith isn't a shout from a mountaintop, it's the quiet, sacred decision to simply let go. To whisper, Lord, I don't have to have all the answers. I don't have to pretend I'm okay when I'm not. I don't have to keep spinning and striving and fixing. Sometimes the greatest peace comes when you finally exhale and say, God, this is bigger than me. But it's not bigger than you. That is where true peace lives, not in controlling every detail, but in resting in the hands of the one who sees it, all holds it all, and is working through it all. Some of you have been praying and waiting, waiting and waiting. And I get it, it's hard. We want answers now. We want breakthrough now. We want to see resolution on our timeline. And when it doesn't come, we panic. We start trying to make things happen, pushing, forcing, trying to open doors that God hasn't even touched. But hear me, delayed does not mean denied. And silence does not mean absence. God is not late. He is building something in you. Don't let your impatience push you into settling. Don't let anxiety convince you that God has forgotten you. He hasn't. You are not abandoned. You are not alone. You are not without help. You just need to shift your focus. Take your eyes off what you can't control and place them back on the one who never loses control. That shift. It will change your whole perspective. It will bring a kind of clarity, joy, and inner strength you never thought possible. When you finally let go, you make room for grace. You give God room to be God. You stop running in circles trying to solve problems that only surrender can solve. Your peace doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from trusting the one who already does. Your freedom. It's not found in controlling the future. It's found in walking faithfully today. So if you're tired, emotionally, drained, spiritually, frustrated, mentally, overwhelmed, take a breath, a deep one. And with that, exhale, release it. Let go of the pressure. Let go of the timeline. Let go of what they said, what they did, what didn't work out. Trust that what's meant for you cannot miss you. Trust that what's been broken can still be redeemed. Trust that when you focus on what you can control, your heart, your faith, your obedience, everything else will begin to fall into place. Because peace isn't the absence of chaos, it's the presence of trust. And when you walk in that truth, you don't just survive the waiting season, you grow through it.